Hi, I'm Alyssa Settle.
And I'm Abby Mihelic. We're junior psychology majors, and this is our research proposal on terror management theory, more specifically mortality salience. Due to COVID 19, we have yet to receive IRB approval, and we were unable to conduct the study, but we are looking forward to running it in the fall. For our study, we'll be using a 3x2 IVPV pretest post-test design. The participant variables that we are controlling for are the presence or absence of anxiety and depression. The independent variable is whether the participant reads neutral stories or obituaries, in which we have written. The dependent variable is how the participant responds to the questionnaire after receiving the manipulation or not. And then we are hypothesizing that individuals who suffer from anxiety related disorders or depression will experience mortality salience differently and perceive global threats more seriously than those who do not have anxiety or depression.
For the participant portion of the study, the participants will be randomly selected. A minimum of 60 participants will be needed for this study. For this study, we plan to use the Beck Anxiety Inventory BAI and the Beck Depression Inventory 2 BDI2 with the permission from Pearson Assessment. This will be included in our pretest to determine if anxiety symptoms are present in the participant. The lead in our study is a licensed clinician who is qualified to score the assessment. The study will also require the participant to read either a short story based off of a made up person's life. We are using made up characters so the participant doesn't know if the character exists, though we want the participant to get a feel as if the individual exists. This will include a name, age, occupation, and family to give the reader a neutral feeling rather than to instill mortality salience within the participant. This will be a part of our control group. For our experimental group, the participant will read similar stories but will include information about the character's death. This is used to create mortality salience in the participant. The goal is to make them think about their own death. Lastly, we will be using a questionnaire that consists of 11 questions, which include 2 manipulation check questions, 3 questions regarding the common fears such as snakes or heights, as well as 3 severity of global threat questions, and 3 questions regarding one's own death. Below, I gave 2 examples. The first one is a control group example, and the second one is the experimental example, which is the obituary.
This will be a two-part study. In the first part of the study, we have received permission from Pearson Assessments to use the BAI and BDI2 as a pretest to determine if our participants are showing signs of anxiety or depression. At this time in the study, we will be informing the participants that their assessment is not being used for diagnosis purposes, and if they are at all concerned about their score on the assessment, then they are more than welcome to speak with our lead investigator, who is a licensed clinician. After completing the pretest, the participant will then be randomly assigned to either the control or experimental condition, where they will either read 6 neutral stories or 6 obituaries. The obituaries are to get the participant to become more aware of their own death or mortality salience. After the participant reads the 6 stories, they will then carry on with the 11 object questionnaire. The first 2 questions on the questionnaire are our manipulation check questions. This is just to ensure that the participant is feeling how we are expecting them to feel after reading, either the 6 neutral stories or obituaries. We aren't wanting participants to feel excited or happy after reading obituaries. They're supposed to feel sad or potentially anxious. After completing the study, we will then debrief, informing the participant of resources on campus if they all need to talk to somebody. Throughout this study, we have many safety precautions in place to protect the participants' privacy. For example, after the participant signs their informed consent form, we'll have them remove that from their packet and put it into a Dropbox. The participants will all be using the same colored pen, so you cannot pinpoint who's pretest with their signature on their informed consent form. And then lastly, the participants are also given a cover sheet to cover up their assessments throughout the entire study.
It is expected that those with depression will be more accepting of the thought of death because of their more realistic outlook on life. For those with anxiety, it is believed that their thoughts and fears regarding death are more specified. For example, with some cases of obsessive compulsive disorder, the individual may fear contamination. Because anxious people are more exposed to having a feeling of something bad is going to happen, something typically death related. They won't be affected by certain scenarios other than specific triggering events. Participants who score high with depression will view global threats more seriously than individuals who are not affected by depression.